Shalom Mishpachah, and welcome to Hebrew Bible Secrets with your host, Chief Rabbi Jeremy Beaton. We are reading today from the book of Acts, starting at chapter 27. Acts chapter 27, verse 1. 1. And when it was determined that we should sail into Italy, they handed Paulus and certain other prisoners to one named Julius, a centurion of Augustus's band. 2. And entering into a ship of Adramyttium, we launched, meaning to sail by the coast of Asia Minor, Turkey. 1. Aristarchus, a Macedonian of Thessalonica, being with us. 3. And the next day we touched at Sidon, and Julius courteously entreated Paulus and gave him liberty to go to his friends to refresh himself. 4. And when we had left from there, we sailed under Cyprus, because the winds were contrary. 5. And when we had sailed over the sea of Cilicia, and Pamphylia, we came to Myra, a city of Lycia. 6. And there the centurion found a ship of Alexandria sailing into Italy, and he put us therein. 7. And when we had sailed slowly many days, and arriving with difficulty over against Nidus, the wind not allowing us to proceed, we sailed close to Crete, off Salmon. 8. And hardly passing it, came to a place which is called the Fair Havens, near whereunto was the city of Lycia. 9. Now when much time was spent, and when sailing was now dangerous, because the Yom Kippur fast was now already past, Paulus admonished them. 10. And said to them, Men, I perceive that this voyage will be with hurt and much damage, not only of the cargo and ship, but also of our lives. 11. Nevertheless, the centurion believed the pilot and the owner of the ship more than those things which were spoken by Paulus. 12. And because the haven was not commodious to winter in, the more part advised to depart there also, if by any means they might attain to Phoenix, and there to winter, which is a haven of Crete, and lies towards the southwest and northwest. 13. And when the south wind blew softly, supposing that they had obtained their purpose, they sailed close by Crete. 14. But not long after, there arose against it a stormy headwind, called Northeaster, Euroclydon. 15. And when the ship was caught, and could not bear up into the wind, we let her drive. 16. And running under a certain island, which is called Claudia, we had much work to come by the boat. 17. After the crew had hoisted it, they used supports under girding the ship, and fearing lest they should run aground on the Syrtis, they lowered the sea anchor, and thus letting themselves be driven along. 18. And we being exceedingly tossed with a strong wind, the next day they began to throw things overboard. 19. And the third day we threw out with our own hands the ship's gear. 20. And when neither sun nor stars in many days appeared, and a violent storm continued to batter us, all expectation that we should be rescued was then lost. 21. Since many of them had no desire to eat, Paulus stood forth in the midst of them, and said, Men, you should have hearkened to me, and not put out to sea from Crete, and to have gained this harm and loss. 22. And now I exhort ye to be of good cheer, for there shall be no loss of any man's life among you, but of the ship. 23. For there stood by me this night the messenger of Elohim, whose I am and whom I serve. 24. Saying, Fear not, Paulus, you must be brought before Caesar, and lo, Elohim has given you all them that sail with you. 25. Therefore, men, be of good cheer, for I believe Elohim, that it shall be even as it was told me. 26. But we must be cast upon a certain island. 27. But when the 14th night was come, as we were driven up and down in the Adriatic Sea, about midnight, the shipmen deemed that they drew near to some country. 28. And they took soundings, and found it 20 fathoms. And when they had gone a little further, they took soundings again, and found it 15 fathoms. 29. Then fearing lest we should have fallen upon rocks, they cast 4 anchors out of the stern, and wished for the day to appear. 30. And as the shipmen were about to flee out of the ship, when they had let down the boat into the sea, under colour as though they would have cast anchors out of the bow. 31. Paulus said to the centurion and to the soldiers, Except these stay in the ship, you cannot be rescued. 32. Then the soldiers cut off the ropes of the boat, and let her fall off. 33. And while the day was coming on, Paulus urged them all to take food, saying, This day is the 14th day that you have tarried and continued fasting, having taken nothing. 34. Therefore I petition you to take some food, for this is for your health. For there shall not a hair fall from your head of any of you. 35. And when he had thus spoken, he took lechem, bread, and gave thanks to Elohim in the presence of them all. And when he had broken it, he began to eat. 36. Then were they all of good cheer, and they also took some food. 37. And we were in all 276 people. 38. And when they had eaten enough to be satisfied, they lightened the ship by throwing the wheat into the sea. 39. And when it was day, they did not recognize the land, but they discovered a certain bay with a beach, into which they were minded, if it were possible, to run the ship aground. 40. And when they had taken up the anchors, they committed themselves to the sea, and loosed the rubber bands, and hoisted up the mainsail to the wind, and made towards the beach. 41. And falling into a place where 2 seas met, they ran the ship aground, and the forepart stuck fast, and remained unmovable, but the hinder part was broken with the violence of the waves. 42. And the soldiers' counsel was to kill the prisoners, lest any of them should swim out and escape. 43. But the centurion, willing to rescue Paulus, kept them from their purpose, and commanded that they which could swim should cast themselves first into the sea, and get to land. 44. And the rest were to follow, some on planks, and some on broken pieces of the ship. And so it came to pass that they all escaped safely to the land. Okay, so that now brings us to the end of Acts chapter 27. So let's go back and have a look at some of the footnotes in Acts chapter 27. So the first footnote we have is in verse 5. And when we had sailed over the sea of Cilicia, and Pamphylia, we came to Myra. Okay, so let's have a look at this. Came to Myra. Okay, so we have here, Myra is an ancient town in Lycia, near a small town called Kale, Demri, and is today in modern-day Antalya, province of Turkey. St. Nicholas of Myra was the bishop of Myra in the 4th century, who the Christians made into the present-day figure known as Father Christmas. Myra was taken by the Assassids, the Muslim army under Caliph Harun al-Rashid. Later it was taken by the Seljuk Turks. Okay, so let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 7. And when we had sailed slowly many days, and arriving with difficulty over against Knidos, the wind not allowing us to proceed, we sailed close to Crete, off Salmon. Okay, so we've got two footnotes here, so Crete and Salmon. So let's have a look at the first footnote. And it reads, from http://en.wikipedia.org/wiki/Crete. Crete was part of the Byzantine Empire, but then was captured by Iberian Muslims, led by Abu Hafs Omar al-Balotti II, who established a piratical emirate on the island. In 960, Nicephorus Procus conquered the island, which remained under Byzantine control until 1204, when it fell into the hands of the Venetians at the time of the Fourth Crusade. During Ottoman rule, many churches and monasteries were converted to mosques. However, freedoms and rights were still provided. Church attendance was permitted. Still, many Christians converted to Islam. The city was surrounded by high walls and bastions and extended westward and southward by the 17th century. The most opulent area of the city was the northeastern quadrant, where all the elite were gathered together. The city had received another name under the rule of the Ottomans, the deserted city. Okay, so let's go to the next continuation, which is Salmon, or Salmon. So we have here the modern name of Salmon is Cape Sidero. It is believed that there is evidence to suggest that Paulus did visit London on his travels, then moving on to Rome. Okay? The modern name of Salmon, or Salmon, is Cape Sidero. It is believed, and there is evidence to suggest that Paulus did visit London on his travels, then moving on to Rome. Okay? So let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 9. Now when much time was spent, and when sailing was now dangerous, because the Yom Kippur fast. So let's have a look at this, Yom Kippur fast. So we have here Day of Atonement, which Paulus would have kept, a 24-hour fast with no food and water, mentioned as an instruction for us in Leviticus 23:27. So let's have a look at Leviticus 23:27. So Leviticus 23:27, and it reads, also on the 10th day of this 7th month, there shall be Yom Kippurim. It shall be a Mikvah Kodesh to you, and you shall afflict your souls and offer an offering made by fire to Yahweh. Okay, let's read that again. Also, on the 10th day of this 7th month, there shall be Yom Kippurim. It shall be a Mikvah Kodesh to you, and you shall afflict your souls and offer an offering made by fire to Yahweh. Okay, so we have a couple of footnotes here. So the first footnote we have is Yom Kippur. So let's have a look at this. So we have here the annual Chag celebration of Yom Kippur, which is the Day of Atonement. Okay? The annual Chag celebration of Yom Kippur, which is the Day of Atonement. Okay, so we also have another footnote. It shall be a Mikvah Kodesh. So let's have a look at this. So we have here, there is to be a 25 hours fast, abstention from food and water. Today, the people who are ill and take medicine can abstain from the fast and find other ways to afflict their souls. Okay, so let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 28. And they took soundings and found it 20 fathoms. So let's have a look at this. So 20 fathoms is about 120 feet. Okay, 20 fathoms is about 120 feet. And we have a continuation. And when they had gone a little further, they took soundings again and found it 15 fathoms. So let's have a look at this. So 15 fathoms, so about 90 feet. Okay, 15 fathoms, about 90 feet. Okay, so that now brings us to the end of Acts chapter 27. So I thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you on the other side. This is Chief Rabbi Jeremy Beaton saying thank you for watching, and Shalom Shalom. Baruch Shem Kivod Malkuto Leolam Va'ed. Benevolent be the name of His esteemed kingdom, forever and ever and ever. Amen.